A female classmate's financial aid application had an error, so I tried to add her on iMessage to tell her how to fix it. But after 2 consecutive requests, she still hadn't accepted. She even included a reason for the rejection. My boyfriend doesn't let me add strangers. My roommate told me to check the department's group chat, and that's when I saw she was ranting about me. I've already turned him down so clearly, but he just won't quit. Does he have any shame? What a delusional guy, actually thinking a frog like him could get a princess. I had to laugh. Me, the sole heir to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, a delusional guy? My roommate, Leo, shoved his phone in my face, and only then did I see the chat history scrolling endlessly in our department's main group chat. The person talking was named Rose Peterson, our class's most popular girl. Her profile picture was a heavily edited selfie. Her makeup was flawless, and her eyes held a hint of arrogance. I frowned without saying a word and just handed the phone back to Leo. "Forget it, just let her be," I said. "I'm the class's academic representative and also the guidance counselor's assistant. It's my job to collect and organize student documents." Rose had applied for the Polaris Grant, one of the most generous and stringently reviewed scholarships at her university. It's backed by a powerful private foundation with a completely independent process. The university is only responsible for collecting and doing a preliminary screening of the applications. While I was organizing the paperwork, I spotted the error on Rose's form immediately. In the annual family income field, she had added an extra zero, $300,000. The eligibility threshold for the grant was a family income below $80,000 a year. The review system is fully automated, and upon seeing that number, it would have rejected her in the very first round. It wasn't really my problem. My job was just to collect and submit the forms. But then I saw her personal statement about her family situation. Her father was chronically ill, and her mother worked odd jobs to get by. Every word conveyed their hardship. I felt that she was going through a lot, so I wanted to give her a heads up. Tagging her directly in the department group chat would have been the quickest way, but it would have also embarrassed her in front of everyone. After a moment's hesitation, I chose the more troublesome but considerate option, adding her on iMessage to let her know privately. I thought it was just a small act of kindness. I never expected my good intentions to be completely thrown back in my face. And now I was being called a frog. A few of her friends were already chiming in to support her in the chat. "Rose, don't be mad. Some people just don't know their place." Exactly. He just sees that you're beautiful and tries to make a move without taking a good look in the mirror. A frog trying to get with a princess. He must be out of his mind. An account named Rose's Night popped up with a profile picture of some guy's back in front of a sports car. Who's the loser harassing my girl Rose? Give me a name, and I'll make sure he doesn't walk off this campus again. This was Rose's boyfriend, Chad Thompson, a rich kid who did nothing but coast. Rose replied instantly, "Oh, Chad, don't be so aggressive. He's just a regular classmate. Maybe he's just a little confused." Her use of that pause was masterful, perfectly conveying the words hopelessly delusional without having to type them. The group chat erupted in laughter again. Leo was furious. "Make, this girl is unbelievable, and you were just trying to be nice. You should just set the record straight in the chat and watch her squirm." I shook my head and handed his phone back. "It's not worth it. You can't reason with people like that." Since I didn't reply, everyone in the group probably assumed I was guilty and had backed down. Rose posted again. "Someone's too scared to even say anything. Looks like I hit a nerve, lol." I turned off my phone screen. Out of sight, out of mind. It was just an application form. If she didn't care about it, why should I? Whatever happened to it was on her. The next day in class, I could tell the atmosphere was off. As I walked down the hall, a group of students who had been laughing together immediately went silent when they saw me. Their eyes were filled with nothing but contempt. When I walked into the classroom, nearly everyone glanced in my direction, whether they meant to or not. Rose was in the center of a circle of girls, smiling and laughing. She was wearing a beautiful white sundress. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, and her makeup was subtle. The moment she saw me walk in, the smile on her face froze. It was quickly replaced by a look of disgust, mixed with a hint of smug satisfaction. The girls with her immediately started pointing at me. "So that's him. He looks normal. I can't believe he's so cringy." "Rose, he hasn't been bothering you again, has he?" Rose lifted her chin, her voice just loud enough for half the classroom to hear. "How could he? After getting roasted by everyone in the group chat yesterday, he's basically a social outcast now." A wave of laughter spread through the room. I walked to an empty seat in the back, my face a blank mask, and took out my textbook. All morning, I could feel their eyes on me. It was like being pricked by needles, and I couldn't sit still. At lunch, I had just gotten my food and sat down in the cafeteria when Rose and her boyfriend set their trays down right across from me. Her boyfriend had bleached blonde hair, an earring, and was decked out in expensive streetwear, trying to look tough. Well, if it isn't a frog, Chad started to say, but Rose pinched him. She then put on a delicate expression and leaned against Chad's shoulder. Chad, let's eat somewhere else. I lose my appetite just looking at him. Chad immediately put on a pained expression. Don't worry, babe. He's not worth getting upset over. He pulled a small jewelry box from his pocket and opened it right in front of me. Inside was a glittering necklace with what looked like a Swarovski logo. Tajda, look what I got you. It's the latest style. I had someone bring it back from Beverly Hills yesterday. Rose gasped, covering her mouth. Wow, it's gorgeous. Chad, you're the best. People at the surrounding tables all turned to look. Chad shot me a smug glance, the challenge and showing off in his eyes completely undisguised. It was as if he were saying, see that, loser? How can you possibly compete with me? I just looked down and kept eating my food. I could tell with one look that the necklace was a knockoff. The clasp on an authentic one would never be that poorly made. I had no classes that afternoon, so I was surprised when my counselor, Mr. Davis, called me to his office. He was in his early 40s, with black-framed glasses and a stern expression. When I walked in, I saw Rose was there too. She was sitting across from Mr. Davis, her eyes red as if she'd been crying her heart out. The moment she saw me, she flinched and shrank back, her eyes wide with fake terror. She was a really good actress. Mr. Davis cleared his throat loudly and adjusted his glasses. Make, you're here. Have a seat. I pulled out a chair and sat. Mr. Davis, you wanted to see me? Mr. Davis's gaze rested on my face for a few seconds, full of disapproval. Make, I know you're a diligent student and you take your responsibilities seriously. I've seen that. Then his tone shifted. However, you need to be more mindful of how you interact with your peers, and it's important to maintain a proper distance, especially with your female classmates. My stomach dropped. Sir, I'm not sure what you're referring to, I said. Suddenly, Rose's crying grew louder. Mr. Davis, it's all my fault. Because of my family situation, I just wanted to ease their burden a little. I never thought it would cause this kind of trouble. Sobbing, she casually added, my boyfriend is furious about this too. His father is on the board of the foundation, and he said he's going to make sure I get justice. Mr. Davis's expression changed instantly, and his look became much more accommodating. He quickly reassured her, Rose, this isn't your fault. Don't worry, the university will handle this matter seriously. He then turned to me, his voice hardening. Make, why did you continue to send requests to Rose on iMessage after she had already rejected you? She made it perfectly clear that she has a boyfriend and was not comfortable with it. Do you realize that your actions have caused her significant distress? I tried to explain, Sir, I was only contacting her about her financial aid form. That's enough. Mr. Davis cut me off impatiently. If there was an issue with the form, you could have announced it in the department group chat or relayed the message through me. Why did you insist on a private iMessage? It's hard not to question your motives for acting this way. I stared at his preachy face. Any words of explanation caught in my throat. Sir, if you're determined to see it that way, then I have nothing more to say. What kind of attitude is that? Mr. Davis slammed his hand on the desk. Make, I am warning you. Stop this inappropriate behavior at once and stay away from Rose. If this happens again, don't be surprised when you find a disciplinary action on your record. Rose stood nearby, a triumphant smirk on her face, clearly thinking she had won. I stood up, turned, and walked out of the office without giving either of them another glance. The door shut behind me, cutting off the sound of Rose's sobbing. I stood in the hallway, staring out the window at the overcast sky. It felt like a heavy stone was sitting on my chest, making it hard to breathe. For the next few days, I was a complete outcast in my classes. Nobody talked to me. People would give me a wide berth when they passed. There were always whispers and poorly hidden snickers behind my back. What a desperate stalker. He should take a look in the mirror. I heard Mr. Davis really laid into him. Serves him right. Rose, meanwhile, doubled down. Almost every day, she would post vague, passive-aggressive things on her Facebook and in the department group chat. Saw a certain someone lurking in the corner of the library again today. So persistent, she'd write, attaching a blurry photo of my side profile. It's so annoying. I feel like a fly is constantly buzzing around me. Leo got so angry he wanted to start a fight with her in the chat, but I stopped him. It would be pointless. Anything I said at this point would just sound like a weak excuse to them. I threw all my energy into my studies and the research project I was assisting my professor with. The library and the lab were the only places I could find any peace. Finally, the submission deadline for the Polaris grant arrived. 10 minutes before the deadline, I submitted all the completed applications to the university's financial aid office. Rose's form was still in the stack. The error was still there, glaringly obvious. She hadn't changed it. Maybe she forgot, maybe she didn't think it was a big deal, or maybe she never even bothered to look it over. As I handed the stack of papers to the clerk, I hesitated for a fraction of a second. In the end, I said nothing. You think you're so clever, don't you? Fine. Then you can pay the price for your own arrogance and stupidity. A week later, the results of the preliminary review were posted. Rose's name was not on the long list of recipients. It was just as I expected. That afternoon, as I was leaving the library with a stack of books, I happened to see Rose and Chad arguing by the campus lake. I thought you said your dad knew people at the foundation. What the hell happened? Rose's voice was shrill. How am I supposed to know? Maybe they're just being tougher this year. Chad shot back impatiently. You can't even handle one little thing. What are you good for? Are you seriously blaming me, Rose? You're the one who couldn't even fill out the form right. So who's really at fault here? What did I fill out wrong? The system's rejection notice spelled it out perfectly. Error in annual family income amount. You made a mistake that's stupid, and you have the nerve to blame me? Rose froze. She must have remembered something, because the color drained from her face. She whipped her head around, her eyes scanning the crowd until they locked onto me. She glared as if she wanted to tear me apart. Our final project for one class was a group report, with teams assigned randomly by the system. As I stared at the results on the screen, I felt a throbbing in my temples. Make Harrison, Rose Peterson, Chad Thompson, and 2 of Rose's other friends. The 5 of us were in one group. It felt like some kind of cosmic joke. Leo leaned over to look and immediately swore. Holy crap, what kind of nightmare group is that? Make, you have to go ask the professor to switch you. I just shook my head. Switch? How? What reason would I give? That Rose and I were incompatible? It would just make me look guilty. Sure enough, it wasn't long after the groups were posted. Rose sent a message in our new 5-person group chat. Certain people better not think about slacking off. If you drag this group down, don't expect me to be nice about it. She didn't use my name, but everyone knew exactly who she was talking to. Chad immediately jumped in. Yeah, don't think you can just coast on Rose's hard work now that you're on our team. The other 2 girls added their agreement. I didn't type a single word in response. Our first group meeting was at a coffee shop off campus. I arrived on time. The other 4 were already there. When Rose saw me, she pushed a stack of books and papers across the table toward me. We've already decided on the topic and outline. We're doing the construction and communication of urban image in a new media environment. These are the source materials. You're in charge of research and writing the first draft. I need it by next Wednesday. She spoke with an air of entitlement, as if ordering an employee around. I'm writing the whole first draft? I asked. Obviously, Rose said, rolling her eyes. We're handling the research, making the final PowerPoint look good, and doing the presentation. The work is divided very clearly. Chad leaned back, crossing his legs and bouncing one foot. You should be grateful we're letting you do some work. It's a privilege to be in a group with Rose. I looked at the 4 of them. Rose and Chad were sipping their lattes while the other 2 girls scrolled through their phones. The so-called source materials on the table were just a few textbooks from the library that hadn't even been cracked open. Fine, I said. I picked up the books and stood. I'll be in touch. With that, I turned and walked out. I could hear Chad's contemptuous snort behind me. What a poser. He still has to do what we say. For the next week, I basically lived in the library, digging up academic papers, finding data, and analyzing case studies. To make the report more substantial, I even asked my professor for help contacting an alumnus who worked at the city's public relations office, and he provided me with some internal data. On Tuesday night, I sent the 30,000-word first draft to our group chat. The chat went completely silent. About half an hour later, Rose finally replied. Got it. No thank you. No feedback. It was as if I had simply done what was expected of me. The next evening, I was in the lab helping my professor with some data analysis when my phone rang. It was Rose, and her tone was harsh. Make, what is this garbage you wrote? It's a complete mess. I frowned. What's wrong with it? Everything is wrong with it. The logic is a mess, the case studies are weak, and the conclusion is non-existent. Do you even know how to write a report? I fought to keep my voice even. Then what changes do you suggest? How should I know? That's your job. I don't care how you do it, but you better have a revised draft for me by tomorrow morning. If our grade suffers because of you, I'll make you regret it. And with that, she hung up. I listened to the dial tone, so angry I actually laughed. A week's worth of my hard work, and to her, it was completely worthless. She couldn't even give me one specific piece of feedback. She was just trying to give me a hard time. I went back to my dorm, opened my laptop, and stared at the report. I wasn't going to change a single word. Instead, I renamed the original file Final Version, then created a new document. I took the original report and stripped out all the core data analysis, the most valuable case studies, and the internal information from my professor's alumnus contact. All that remained were some vague, high-level theories and outdated case studies you could find anywhere online. I reformatted this gutted version, also named it Final Version, and then logged into the university's course portal. I uploaded the full 30,000-word report as my own individual submission. Only after doing all that did I send the gutted Final Version to the group chat, tagging everyone. The report has been revised according to Rose's feedback. Please review. The submission deadline was Friday at noon. That Friday morning, our first period was with the professor for that class. Our instructor was Professor Miller, the very professor grading the report. She was in her 50s, academically rigorous, and notoriously strict. The two things she despised most were academic dishonesty and students who didn't pull their weight in group projects. Before class started, Rose and her friends walked in, all dressed up. When she saw me, Rose lifted her chin haughtily and walked right past my desk as if I didn't exist. I noticed she was carrying a new Louis Vuitton bag. It looked like Chad had spent a fortune to cheer her up. I wondered what tier knockoff this one was. Professor Miller entered the classroom and set down her notes. I trust everyone has submitted their reports. Her eyes scanned the room. I was looking through the submissions this morning. Most groups submitted on time. However, there is one group I'd like to discuss in particular. The classroom went quiet. Professor Miller adjusted her glasses and looked toward our row. The group that did their report on the construction and communication of urban image in a new media environment. Rose Peterson, Chad Thompson, Meg Harrison. She read all 5 of our names. Rose immediately sat up straighter, a smug smile spreading across her face. She clearly thought the professor was about to praise our group publicly. Professor Miller's gaze finally settled on me. Meg, you also submitted an individual report on the same topic. Furthermore, your individual submission was detailed, well supported by data, and used innovative case studies. Its quality is substantially higher than the report submitted by your group. She paused, her voice growing icy. Now, can someone please explain to me what exactly happened here? Was this a failure of teamwork, or was someone trying to take credit for another person's work? Instantly, every eye in the classroom turned to our group. The smug look on Rose's face froze solid. The room was completely silent. The color of Rose's face shifted from red to white, then to a sickly pale green. She was the first to react, jumping to her feet and pointing a finger at me. Professor, it was him. He deliberately sabotaged us. Her voice cracked, and tears welled up in her eyes on command. We divided up the work, and he was supposed to write the draft. He agreed to it, but then he went behind our backs and wrote a separate version without communicating with us at all. The version he gave us was a shoddy, unfinished mess. He did it on purpose. He wanted our entire group to get a bad grade. It's because I turned him down before, so he's holding a grudge and trying to get revenge. She delivered the lines with convincing tears, painting herself as the innocent victim of my personal vendetta. The looks I got from my classmates grew even more disdainful. So that's what happened. That guy is a serious manipulator. If he can't have her, he tries to destroy her? That's terrifying. Chad stood up too, his face a mask of outrage. Professor, I can back her up. Everything Rose said is true. This guy is malicious. We were all tricked by him. Professor Miller frowned and turned to me. Meg, is this true? I met the stares of the entire class as I stood up. Professor, that's not what happened. I took out my phone, pulled up my conversation with Rose, and handed it to the professor. This is the feedback Rose gave me over the phone, demanding I revise the report. She said my first draft was a complete mess, with unclear logic and weak case studies. I then revised it according to her demands and sent her the version that our group ultimately submitted. Professor Miller took the phone and examined it closely. Then she scrolled through our group chat history. From start to finish, there was nothing but Rose's bossy demands and Chad and the others chiming in to agree with her. There wasn't a single productive comment about the report itself. Professor Miller's expression grew increasingly grim. She handed the phone back to me and looked at Rose. Rose, you claim it gave you an unfinished draft. In that case, what specific revisions and improvements did you and the other group members make to it before submitting? Rose faltered. We were in charge of the PowerPoint and the presentation. So you're telling me you didn't change a single word of the written report? You just submitted it as is. Professor Miller's voice shot up. You submitted a report that you yourselves considered to be a shoddy mess, and you had no problem putting your names on it. Is that your attitude toward your education? The faces of Rose and Chad turned a deep, blotchy red. Finally, Professor Miller delivered her verdict. I understand perfectly what happened here. Rose, Chad, and the other 2 members of this group failed to fulfill your responsibilities and were negligent with your team's work. Your grade for this report will be a 0. Furthermore, because you attempted to cover up the truth and slander a fellow student, I will be noting this incident as a mark of poor conduct on your final course evaluations. As for Make, for completing an excellent report independently, you will receive full credit. Without another glance at the stunned Rose, she immediately began her lecture. The classroom was utterly silent. Rose collapsed into her chair as if all the strength had been drained from her body. She had probably never been so publicly humiliated in her life. After class, she blocked me at my desk. Make, you're really something else. You win, she hissed, her eyes red as she glared at me. I ignored her and continued packing my bag. She slammed her hand down on my textbook. Don't get cocky. This isn't over. You just wait. The incident with the report was a huge embarrassment for Rose and our department. She laid low for a few days, stopped posting on Facebook, and whenever she saw me on campus, she would just shoot me a hateful glare before giving me a wide berth. I was glad for the peace. After final exams ended, summer vacation began. The university posted the final list of this year's Polaris Grant recipients on its official website. There were 20 names in total. The awards ceremony was scheduled for the opening convocation of the fall semester. I scanned the list, and just as I'd expected, Rose's name wasn't on it. Meanwhile, thanks to that perfect score on the report and my grades in other classes, my GPA was now number 1 in our major. I had successfully secured another major federal scholarship. Halfway through the summer, my professor called and asked me to come back to campus early to help wrap up an important research project. I had just dropped my bags in my empty dorm room when Leo sent me a link on iMessage. It was a link to the campus gossip forum. A trending post had been pushed to the top with the headline, "Exposed, the psycho-academic rep in the finance department who stalks female student after she rejected him." I clicked on it. The poster was anonymous, but the post accused an academic representative named Harrison of holding a grudge after being rejected by campus beauty R. It claimed he had been stalking and harassing her for a long time, even provoking her in public, causing her severe emotional distress and psychological trauma. The post included screenshots from our department group chat, that blurry photo of me in a library, and a selfie of Rose with red, teary eyes. There were already hundreds of comments, and people were outraged. Whoa, is this for real? He looks so normal, but he's a stalker. Poor Rose. Someone should call the cops on this guy. No wonder that whole thing with the class report blew up. It was all just personal revenge. This guy is a total psycho. He should be expelled. People like him don't belong at this university. Rose's friends were leading the charge in the comments, embellishing the story and describing how I was constantly lurking, making me out to be some kind of monster. Someone had even posted my picture in major. Reading through the vile insults, I felt a chill spread through me. All I had wanted to do was help her. And now, according to her, I was a demon bent on destroying her life. It wasn't long before Mr. Davis called again, his voice harsher than I'd ever heard it. "Make, I need you in my office. Now." When I got there, both Rose and her mother were present. Her mother was dressed simply and had a worried expression, clutching Mr. Davis's hand as she wept. "Mr. Davis, my Rose is sick with fear. Because of him, you have to do something for us." The moment Rose saw me, she pointed, cowering behind her mother and trembling. "Mom, that's him. He won't leave me alone. I'm so scared." Her mother immediately lunged toward me. "You monster! Why won't you stop harassing my daughter? Are you trying to kill her?" she screamed, scratching and clawing at me. It took all of Mr. Davis's strength to pull her off. "Make!" Mr. Davis glared at me. "You've seen the post on the campus forum, haven't you? What do you have to say for yourself? Harassing a female student and causing her severe emotional distress is an extremely serious offense. The university will take this very seriously." Rose hid behind her mother, refusing to even look at me. I was ordered to suspend all of my lab work and stay home to reflect on my actions. The university formed an investigative committee to look into the stalking and harassment incident. Overnight, I became infamous on campus. Everywhere I went, people would point and whisper. Leo was frantic. "Make, what are you going to do? You never stalked her, but how can you prove a negative?" He was right. How could I prove it? There was no evidence because nothing had happened. But Rose insisted that I was obsessed with her and that my constant stalking had left her traumatized. She and her mother went to the university administration, raising hell and making a massive scene, ensuring the story spread everywhere. To calm the situation, it seemed the university was leaning towards sacrificing me. Mr. Davis called me in for a talk, hinting that if I just admitted fault and took responsibility, the school would be lenient. I refused. I wouldn't admit to a single thing I hadn't done. I spent the next few days in a daze until I got a call from my father. His voice on the other end of the line was calm and steady. "Make," he said, "the Polaris Foundation's annual fundraising gala and award ceremony is being held at your university this year. The day after tomorrow, you'll be attending with me as our family's representative." My father is David Harrison, the founder and chairman of the Polaris Foundation. I was stunned. "Dad, with my current reputation on campus, what about your reputation?" I could hear the smile in his voice. "My son, the future heir to the Polaris fortune. Is that title not enough for you? I wanted you to have a normal college experience, not to get pushed around." After we hung up, I let out a long, slow breath. The massive weight on my chest finally lifted. The day after tomorrow. Good. I would be ready. The gala was held in the university's athletic center. A red carpet stretched across the entrance, which was crowded with local celebrities and lined with luxury cars. The driver and stylist my father sent had been waiting for me in a private lounge all afternoon. When I changed into the perfectly tailored suit, fastened the Patek Philippe on my wrist, and looked at my reflection, I felt myself stand taller. My father was already there, speaking with the university president. When he saw me get out of the car, he smiled and beckoned me over. "Come, Ike, let me introduce you. This is President Thompson of your university." President Thompson was visibly taken aback when he saw me. Then, his face broke into a warm, enthusiastic smile. "Ah, Mr. Harrison, this must be your son. He's an incredibly impressive young man, the cream of the crop." He shook my hand firmly, his grip almost painfully strong. In the distance, I saw Mr. Davis standing with a few other university administrators. When his eyes met mine, the smile on his face froze, and his glasses nearly slid down his nose. He stared at me, then at my father and the president laughing beside me. The color drained from his face, leaving it as white as paper. The dinner began, and my father and I were seated at the head table, joined by the president, the mayor, and several other city officials. The presentation of the Polaris Grant Awards was the main event of the evening. The scholarship recipients were called to the stage, their faces glowing with happiness. The MC's voice boomed through the speakers. "And now, please join me in a warm round of applause for our presenters. The chairman of the Polaris Foundation, Mr. David Harrison, and the foundation's future successor, Mr. Make Harrison." The spotlight found me. I stood, straightened my suit jacket, and walked onto the stage with my father. The applause from the audience was deafening. I spotted Mr. Davis in the crowd. He looked like he'd been struck by lightning, frozen to the spot, his wine glass trembling in his hand. And then I saw another familiar face. Rose. She and Chad were actually in the audience. I guess Chad's well-connected father had managed to score them invitations. She was staring up at me, her mouth hanging open. Her perfectly made-up face was a canvas of shock, confusion, and finally, fear. Beside her, Chad looked completely dumbfounded. I stood at the podium and took the microphone. My eyes swept slowly across the audience, over every face, familiar and unfamiliar. Finally, my gaze settled on Rose's ashen face. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Make Harrison." My voice echoed through the athletic center. Many of you probably don't know me, so allow me to introduce myself. I'm a sophomore here in the finance department. I'm also the psycho you've all been talking about, the one who supposedly stalks our campus beauty because she rejected me. A single stone had sent ripples through the crowd. The audience erupted in murmurs. Everyone was whispering, their eyes darting between me and the university administrators, whose faces had gone pale. Beads of cold sweat broke out on President Thompson's forehead. My father stood beside me, a calm smile on his face, and gave me an encouraging nod. I continued. "I apologize for taking up your time with a personal matter in an event like this, but I need to clear something up. The accusations that I have been harassing Rose Peterson are complete slander." I looked directly at Rose in the audience. "I have never, at any point, pursued you or harassed you. I saw from your financial aid application that your family was struggling, and I wanted to give you a friendly warning that you had made an error on the income section that would cause your application to be rejected. I tried to add you on iMessage simply to tell you privately and save you any public embarrassment." The moment I said financial aid, the audience erupted. "What? Rose applied for financial aid? That can't be right. She's always showing off designer clothes on Facebook, and isn't her boyfriend rich? So it was all a lie? Her family is poor." The whispers grew louder, and dozens of disdainful looks were aimed at Rose. I just laid her deepest secret bare for everyone to see. The shock on her face was instantly replaced by pure terror. The color drained from her cheeks, and her lips began to tremble. Unfortunately, you never gave me the chance to tell you. I changed my tone and turned my gaze to Mr. Davis, whose face was now a grim shade of gray. As for the post on the campus forum and the so-called investigation that followed, I trust that the university leadership present tonight will ensure a just outcome. The Polaris Foundation was established with one goal: to help students who are both academically gifted and genuinely in need. We will not allow our goodwill to be exploited by those who twist the truth, nor will we allow our charity to be used as a weapon to attack and frame innocent people. For anyone who attempts to deceive this foundation or slander the reputation of our partner institutions, the Polaris Foundation reserves the right to pursue full legal action. With every word I spoke, Mr. Davis's face grew paler. Rose had gone so limp she had to lean on Chad just to stay upright. After the ceremony concluded, the dinner resumed. Mr. Davis was the first to rush over to me, his face twisted into a smile that looked more painful than a grimace. "Mr. Harrison, sir, this whole thing, it's all been a terrible misunderstanding, a complete and total misunderstanding." He bowed repeatedly as he apologized. "I was blind. I failed to see the situation clearly. It was my mistake, a terrible error in judgment, and I am so sorry." I ignored him and walked right past. Just then, Rose pushed through the crowd. She shook Chad's hand off her arm and ran up to me, her face a mask of pitiful regret. "Make, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I didn't mean to lie about you, I swear. It was the grant money. I didn't get it, and if my mom found out it was because I messed up the form, she would have killed me. I had to blame someone, and I pushed it all on you. I didn't know what else to do. Now the university is saying they're going to expel me for what I did to you. Please, can you just talk to them for me? I can't get expelled. If my parents find out, they'll actually kill me this time. Please, be the bigger person and forgive me just this once," she begged, reaching for my arm. I stepped back, moving out of her reach. Behind her, Chad watched her groveling, then looked at me, his expression turning sour. "Rose, what are you doing? Why are you begging this guy?" Rose spun around and screamed at him. "You shut up. This is all your fault. If you weren't so useless, I wouldn't be in this mess." Chad was taken aback by her ferocity for a second. Then he let out a derisive laugh. "Me useless? Rose, you didn't actually think I was serious about you, did you? I was just having some fun. Did you really think you were something special? Take a look at yourself. You're just a broke charity case. Do you really think you're my league? A dad who's always sick, a mom working dead-end jobs. Just thinking about your family makes me sick to my stomach. And you really thought I was buying you the real deal? That Louis Vuitton bag, that tacky necklace, they're all fakes. Because that's all you deserve. And now that you've seen what real money looks like, you think you can just dump me? You wish." All the color drained from Rose's face. She trembled, pointing at him, unable to form a single word. "Make." But her situation was too desperate to waste time fighting with Chad. Like she was grasping at her last hope, Rose ignored him and turned back to me, pleading. "I know I was wrong. Please, just give me one more chance. I like you. Actually, I've liked you for a long time. I just didn't know how to say it," she began to ramble. "When I rejected you before, it was only because Chad made me. I didn't mean any of it. Look, I've broken up with him now. Can we be together?" I looked at her face, streaked with tears and ruined makeup, and felt nothing but disgust. Like me, I laughed. "Rose, you are pathetic and ridiculous from start to finish. All I ever wanted was to do you a small favor. You were the one who turned a simple act of kindness into this public circus. It was your own vanity and stupidity that cost you the grant. You have no one to blame but yourself for the position you're in now. You don't deserve my kindness." I said my piece and didn't look at her again. My father walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go," he said. We turned and walked away. Behind us, we could hear Rose's desperate sobs and Chad's angry curses, punctuated by the open ridicule and gossip of the remaining guests. As we stepped out of the ballroom, my father handed me a bottle of water. "How are you feeling?" he asked. I took a drink and shook my head. "Nothing really. It all just feels so pointless. Wasting so much time and energy on someone so unworthy." The next day, an announcement appeared on the university's website. Mr. Davis was removed from his position as a counselor and given a formal demerit for gross professional negligence that caused significant damage to the university's reputation. The anonymous post on the gossip forum was deleted, and the university administration issued a public apology to me. As for Rose, she was expelled for malicious slander and severe violation of the student code of conduct. I heard her mother came to the campus and raised hell for hours, but didn't do any good. Leo told me later that on top of being expelled, Rose was also being hounded by debt collectors at her home for all the payday loans she'd taken out to buy designer goods. Chad had cut off all contact with her. Her life had fallen from the clouds into the mud, and none of it had anything to do with me anymore. Some roads you choose for yourself, and even if they're covered in thorns, you're the only one who can walk them.